Heyo, duckies and dice fiends. Welcome. It is Tuesday. That means it is time for the Table Talk Show. I am Kay. I'm one of your hosts. But I am not the main person here. I can verb. We are here with two incredible people. So let's start this off with Candace. Who the heck is you and what the heck is we doing here?
Hello, I'm Candace, also known sometimes as Candace Magnificent. My pronouns are they, she, and I'm here to co-host the Table Talk Show. Shout out to David, who's doing all kinds of awesome healing right now, fucking killing it out there in these streets, putting in that work. We love you and we miss you, and I can't wait to give you your seat back, even though I have a really great time hanging out with Kay.
Yes, and I am being attacked by a very loud car outside my window. Hello, I am Kay.
Sorry, I'm late. I'm almost there. Hang on, Kay.
Hello, Graham, obviously in chat. Hello, Lovewin. Hello, Jason. Hello, Matt. Welcome in, everyone. Thanks for hanging out with us. I am Kay. I am your regular co-host hanging out. And there's a Candace miraculously appearing, right? In two places at once. This is the Table Talk Show, where every Tuesday we talk all things TTRPGs, from indies to intersectionality. You find us here every Tuesday doing this, exactly this. And hey, Rex, welcome in. But y'all aren't here to hear about me today. Graham, who the heck is you? And what do you do that's brought you here?
Hi, everybody. My name is Graham Gentz. I use he and they pronouns. I am a game designer, facilitator, and occasionally a puppet. I am also the new play and culture lead at Mythworks. My previous game, RPG, was Under the Autumn Strangely. It's a pastoral horror game of anachronistic Americana in a land that never was. And my game that's on BackerKit right now is Cabin in the Woods, but for Hallmark Movies. It's called Love for the Love Gods. And Mythworks game that's on also as part of Zine Quest and Zemo is Time Force, which is a slapstick comedy, zipping through time periods, easy breezy role-playing game that's also being in crowdfunded as we speak.
Yeah, you're two going on at once. That's only a little bit stressful.
Well, one's mine and one is like the Mythworks.
Yeah, but still
donation to Zine Quest, you know.
But still.
Lots to manage.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't undersell yourself. It's amazing.
Truly. We've already got Matt is asking, do you use Fey magic to turn into a puppet, or is it classical training?
I mean, whatever it calls for. Like, if you're doing some Midsummer Night's Dream, like, there's a lot of weird magic, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I remember in a theater that I was in regularly, they did a version of Macbeth and made a goofy choice to cover it in like voodoo symbols and terminology, and I swear to God, everyone in the cast like lost their mind. It was like weird, and I was like, you don't mess with that shit. Like, that's on you. That's your fault. So yeah, usually it's classical training, but occasionally you need that little something for that little that spark that occurs. Any kind of video you see of people in puppets, like on talk shows, and then like the person transforms talking to the puppet. That's the Fey magic right there. You know, there's something special about the human brain and puppets.
Absolutely. In fact, my mother. One of my favorite movies.
Is a puppet?
People who hang out here often. No, Labyrinth is one of my favorite movies. That is one of the. We are defining
Yes.
K. Hey there, King Writer. My mother hates all things Muppets. Hates all things puppets. Hates Muppets.
Poor choice.
Hates all of them.
Unacceptable.
She apparently, despite my playing The Princess Bride basically on loop all through high school, had never seen The Princess Bride. Ended up going to a theater that was showing retro movies, throwback movies, and was like, I just watched The Princess Bride and it was so good. And I'm like, you hadn't, Mom, how many times did I say as you wish to you when you were being, just a little bit shitty and I was being just a little bit shitty back and you didn't get it? You didn't get what I... And she's like, yeah, and next week they're showing The Labyrinth. And I'm like, no.
There's much more than the screaming eels in that one, Mom.
Like, you can't. If you haven't seen The Labyrinth and you are an adult, you have to be in a very specific mindset to see it if you did not see it as a child in the 80s, right? And if
There's
you
a lot
are
of
not
explaining you have to do.
And if you are not, especially if you are not into Muppets, you don't want to see that in a theater full of people you don't know.
It does get very weird. I feel like people underplay, like they downplay how weird that and Dark Crystal both get.
I was just
and then you're
thinking
in
Dark
it and you're
Crystal.
like, I mean, I love this, but also it's making me realize that I'm real fucking weird because this is really weird and I'm super into it.
Because Dark Crystal doesn't have the isekai thing. It doesn't have the like
No,
down the
you're just
rabbit
in
hole
there.
part.
Yeah.
In Dark Crystal, you're like, why are there these like nasty little vultures and the
Why
characters
not?
I'm supposed to identify with? The Gelflings. The Gelflings.
No, no,
Gelflings.
they're the bad guys. I am pro Skeksis. Skeksis all the way.
No. Okay.
I mean, that's a track.
They're so much less creepy.
Then
the-
I mean,
then the
I
Gelflings.
understand.
Yes, they're terrifying.
I like the
I
big
get where
crab
you're
things.
coming
I'm a big
from.
crab
Those
thing.
are
They're like,
great.
That I like.
favorite. Those are my favorite.
For me, what fucks me is the sound of the Skeksis. Yeah, I can't.
All right, chat.
I love it.
Drop your
I
best
love it.
Skeksis sound in chat.
It creeps me out so bad. Because I'm just like, you are doing that sound so that you can snap me in your mighty jaws and swallow me whole.
They're
I
not
know
that
that's
mighty.
what it is.
They're really like pathetic and weak. That's like their whole thing. Like,
Yeah, but they got a big beak.
they do got a big beat. It's true.
And Agra is missing an eyeball, and I'm like, how'd you miss that eye? How'd you fucking get that eyeball taken,
Hell yeah.
Agra?
Shout out
A
to
Skeksis,
Agra.
probably.
So now I know the
No.
sounds that are going to be made in the hotel room next PAX Unplugged.
Please, Kay. Please don't do this. Please. Oh.
Right when you're
I
about
get
to fall
so
asleep.
upset. Yes, please. I
I
don't.
actually got to take a picture with one of the original Skeksis puppets.
Ooh.
It's so cool.
And it bit you in half,
that's
right?
rad.
Like,
Absolutely in half.
We can't
I've
see
never
the
kept-
lower half.
There's a
because
reason no
it's
one has
gone.
ever seen me from the
'Cause it's
ribcage
gone.
down.
Because
Yeah,
it's
gone.
Skeksis. You got
See?
Skeksis.
Gross. Hate him. Ugh. Almost as bad as ET.
Sure. The ET people, I understand. I did not have any kind of specific, but I did watch it a bunch on VHS growing up. And when he's dying and like gray, that fucked me up pretty bad.
He's gross all the time.
Sure, I get it.
And I don't know why we're pretending he's not gross all the time.
I get
like,
it.
he terrorizes a small child, which, like, usually I'm all about that. Terrorize away.
Right.
Small children are terrors. Sometimes they need to know what terror is so that they can chill the fuck out. However, him in the wig, who thought that was a good idea? With the hat?
I mean, he's just like
Like-
the one-eyed witch from Dark Crystal again.
That's better looking. That's way better looking. At least she's like, hey, I'm kind of creepy looking and weird. And you're like, respect. E.T. is like, love me. I'm not weird. I'm your friend. I'm like, no.
Clearly weird.
There-
This is you.
there-
This is you and your process. E.T.
There is
definitely
a
weird.
show on Netflix called Resident Alien, which I
Sure.
actually am really loving. And it's about an alien who's stuck on Earth. And the ET references that they make are just so good.
It's Wash, right? Wash is the alien.
Yes, Wash
Yeah.
is the alien. Yes. Yeah, can't.
But yes, Lurking Rider. Yes, these are the like defining K movies: Labyrinth, Dark Crystal, Willow, Alien, Neverending Story, Last Unicorn, and Return to Oz. And yes, Return
Alien?
to Oz was.
Okay, Left Turn. All of these the same thing, and then Aliens there, which my
I mean,
favorite
I
of
think
those.
I feel like we all watched Alien too young. If you were of that generation.
I watched
Yeah.
Aliens too young, specifically when Bishop gets sliced in half. It was like on TBS or something, and I was like flipping through, and he gets split in half, and he's like a torso walking around. Was sick to my stomach for like a full week.
My mom is a big Alien person. She loves the first three unapologetically and unironically on that third one. The fourth one, she was like, it could have been better. Like, that's her franchise, right? Like, that's her jam. And so I grew up watching parts of Alien. I couldn't see all of it because I was too scared. But when I finally was like of age, I think that was like 13. I think she was like, you said you want to get scared. This is the one rated R movie I will let you watch without having to like read the book first. Because that was the rule, is that if there's a book, you can read it, I'll quiz you, and if you get it, then you can watch the movie. But if there's no book, fuck off. No, you're not watching that. But this, because she liked it, she was like,
Yes,
I
just
guess
John
I just make it
Steinbeck's
that shit.
seminal work, Alien. We all had to read that in high school,
just
I
this
remember.
one time, okay? I was like,
It's the Red Pony and Alien, like the two
Yeah.
things, right?
I will say though, all of those movies that Kay listed, they do change something in your brain chemistry
Sure.
when you see them before I think like 16. It just
I have
somewhere
an-
in here you're just a little different now.
Unapologetic Last Unicorn reference that Vasal makes at the beginning of the God Plane every time. I'm always waiting for people to pick up on it.
I have a new group for you to run for. They'll get it.
Ooh, I'm excited.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, Lurking Rider says he saw Alien at 7, and Rex says
Mhm.
he saw it at 10 or so.
See, and you're never the same, are you?
Never
No,
the same. Never the same.
never again.
But we can go on this. We could also derail into Digimon, because I don't actually know how many
haven't
of you
invaded
mother
you yet.
lovers in chat.
Graham's
no,
like, I'm
Digimon.
biding my time.
But
It's all about pacing, okay?
we need to talk about why you're actually here. Tell us
Harpoon
about
torpedo!
love for the love gods.
Sure.
Tell us your
Sure.
creation.
Give us all of your informations.
Yes.
Sure. So, Love for the Love Gods, the elevator pitch, I think I'm very proud of because it communicates immediately what I want to do, and then you get to, by choice, tumble down as far as you want. Cabin in the Woods, but for Hallmark movies. A big step up. It's unfortunately you need to see it, but it's not necessary. But like you get the joke immediately of like what I'm going for. Cabin in the Woods is a movie that's all about artifice. It's all about why are a certain genre repeatable, and so the idea being that like, oh, there's like a metatextual kind of narrative in it, but that even has a further metatextual narrative. Why are all horror movies the same? Well, because it's some elaborate ritual. And the gods in that are, Lovecraftian in nature, but also stand in for the audience. The idea of like, why do we keep doing horror movies? Why are horror movies the same? Why do they keep being made the same? Because the literal gods, the like big hand at the end, is also just sort of Hollywood, or it's the audience of horror movies. And so the other lane that I'm kind of cooking on is the idea of high art and low art, and why I think it's all stupid. And so many other kinds of media and genre that are, because they're outside of some kind of norm or mainstream or canon, that they get viewed down upon, right? Punched down on a lot. When there's really nothing inherently where something is lesser than another. This is why the use of Mary Sue outside of fan fiction really bothers me, because only in a sense of like something that's very sexist and very particular is that ever used. Like nobody ever complains about Arnold Schwarzenegger being a Mary Sue.
I do.
You should. Get fucked, Arnold.
I complain about Rob Liefeld being a Gary Stu all the damn time.
Yeah,
Every
yeah.
chance I get.
There you go. Okay. So part of it was not only just like romantic comedies in general, like, and that being part of it, because I've pretty much since like day one of me doing role-playing games and running them was like, oh, all of these violence is like the mechanism because it's easy. And that's why they use it in video games as well, is that it's the conflict resolution they get to do over and over and over again. My partner refers to video games as killing stuff and collecting things, and by golly, is she right. Even the ones where you're like collecting stories or characters or whatever, you're still like collecting things. And I'm like, great. Mm-hmm. It's repeatable. And that really locks you into certain kinds of design. And so Hallmark movies being even a smaller part of it are absolutely this cultural joke. But they're also aggressively straight and aggressively white. And so the other tenets, as I started unrolling, as I began designing this thing, was the idea of, okay, so let's use post-structuralism to use queer theory on Hallmark movies. Let's make stories where queer love stories aren't tragic, because they deserve to be revelatory and stupid and wonderful and normal, and instead of the default. And so trying to work that into it as well. So I got my fingers in a lot of pies trying to make this thing, which also the broad strokes of the games that I make are generally like stone soup. I show up and I say, bring these things, and then I fade away because I don't want to be centralized as an author or as a writer, as a creator, because that's the special alchemy that occurs at a role-playing table over and over and over and over again, is that people come in, they don't prep, they listen to each other, and they find things that they wanted but didn't realize that was there, and that they keep donating and creating. And so for me, that's the kind of games I want to play, and those are the kind of games that I want to write. So that is, for all intents and purposes, Love for the Love Gods.
Sounds so fucking good. Like, I love that you have already kind of baked that principle in. There's a game called Hometown Holiday that I tried to play with a group of really adorable queers on the Queer XP. I ran it for their holiday story series.
It's the Hallmark game. Is it Belonging Outside Belonging? What is the how does it work?
It's called Hometown Holiday.
I remember it. What is the system?
Yeah.
Is it Belonging Outside Belonging or PBTA or something?
I don't know. I think it's just like a general like rules light sort of thing because it's not really like it's like a little PDF guy.
Right.
Basically, you have 3 stats. You put like a 1, a 2, and a 3 in your stats. It's like cocoa sweaters and joy or something like that. Holiday spirit. And it's cute. It's like a little light nonsense, whatever kind of game. And I thought I was going to tell a queer story about this cute little trans mask boy who is in this hometown and all these people are coming home, blah, blah, blah. And I thought that my players were going to go along with that.
Uh-oh.
What I like about this that you're doing is you are baking in the queerness.
Correct.
Whereas I was like, I'm going to make it queer by having queer characters, queer NPCs, queer relationships. All of you are queer. I am queer. All of us are queer. It's going to be so queer. It's going to be the gay old time, right? It's going to be lovely.
Queer.
Make the Yuletide gay, right?
Yes. Challenge
because
accepted.
Because it wasn't baked in to that the way that yours is. What I got was like a fucking reality bites for homosexuals.
Sure.
Where like people are taking strong stances. Everybody had like an intervention with the boy at the end because they were like, you're not doing enough work on yourself. Like it was the gayest thing. Like it was so gay. Like nobody just was like, I just want to hold his hand and make out with him.
Right.
Like nobody Hallmark movied it. Right. They got to the end and they were like, actually, this is a couples therapy and all of us want to talk to you. Don't lean in to try to kiss me. No, we're not kissing tonight. Nobody's kissing today. We need to talk about where you're at and where your headspace is. I was like, okay, guys. It was awesome. Like, it was wonderful. No regrets. I love the way it turned out. My players were so good. But, like, I can't wait to play your game and actually have a queer Hallmark movie that doesn't have to have all of those things because it's already in the game.
Yeah.
Yes.
They were like, we got to talk about theory. I'm like, yep, go ahead. Go on, talk about it.
I talk about theory in the text that you don't have to. I mean,
this is what I mean.
I've play tested it a couple of times over the like a year and a half, and I know it's at a good table when I say, okay, I do the premise, and then I say tenets of the love gods, and the first thing out of my mouth is post-structuralism, and if I get a laugh from that, we're in. Like you get it. Like we're in. We're in the same thing. Like so much of what I design around, and also the games I facilitate when I'm at a table, is being able to have your cake and eat it. Like you can be stupid and earnest.
Yes.
They don't cancel each other out. And that part of that
I don't know anything about playing those characters.
Right, no, not at all. Reveling in the stupidity of it, but also fully being in it. So much about horror lives in the space between comedy and horror because they operate on the same emotional narrative beats. And so finding where that is means that you find beautiful things. Something like, my unfinished White Whale game is a Pokemon Digimon trade up, where again, I have these things that I'm saying, okay, these are suggestions, like, don't be afraid to be stupid. Like, why do these characters have pun names? Why do these creatures, these monsters? My little personal theory is because they're all named by children. But the idea is that you can have these meaningful stories, and there is something, it makes it further highlights the darkness, it makes the humor funnier. This is a huge problem in theater when you have these sort of like poverty porn sort of things, is it's dark, but like then none of it actually matters and none of it actually makes through. You're like, wow, that is fucked up, is what the audience comes away with, and like then you're not actually doing your job. You have to find the light because the darkness is going to be there regardless. So
Lurking Writer says, love for the love gods, cushions for the cozy throne, and milk for the cornflakes.
Yeah. I have a couple similar. I do have a love throne. Rules is written. There is a love throne. It gets passed around. Love everything that you threw in together. Absolutely.
And Rex says, so himbo is a role. Got it. Look, himbo is a valid role in any system.
It is a lifestyle, arguably.
Fight me.
Yeah. The core lovers. So there is a ritual. The idea being that The only kind of tenet is that the lovers cannot know that this is false. It's kind of Truman Show-esque, this like perfect town. And so some people might just live there and not know it exists. But there are other people that live there who are double agents for the Love Machine, or the Machine, which is the shadowy cult that makes everything run. And so when you have the precocious child, or the helpful person, they might have something in the ear, and so every character who's not in scene is assumed to be a nameless technician behind the scenes, narrating and acting through the through hidden cameras and screens. It's worked better at higher player counts. I pushed it to 7, 8, 9, 10, and because of the way I function, I section what people are able to do, but everyone is always involved. And so as a result, there's nobody sitting around because there's certain rules you can or can't do, and you're always there. You're always able to donate in some way. And the way I have it written is that when you donate things, you own it completely. There's no slowing down by consensus, because that tends to make these really soft, round, boring games. But everyone is equally legitimate, and the moment you have this detail, you own it. So again, I have the obvious things, which is tongue-in-cheek, like, yes, pro-structuralism, but also I do mean it. And how to make queer romance mundane, how to make it boring. But then also there's the layers down that I'm not explicitly saying, but is part of my ethos. And that's how I tend to write games.
Sorry, apparently my connection...
Captions fucked?
No, the things are just a little bit out of sync. Which...
Oh, no.
Yeah, give me just 1 sec. I'm going to see if this will make it happy. I'm going to stop the stream, and then I'm going to start it again. So we'll be right back. It'll be 2 seconds, y'all.
Go to the Bandai screen. Dun, 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 dun.
All right. We are maybe back. Let's see. Hopefully that will be better. My OBS has just been real grumpy lately, y'all. I don't know what. This recent update, it's been bad. It's not been good. But you had a thing, Candace.
Yes, I was going to say that I love that ethos. And I love that you bring very concrete principles to your game design. There are some people who create games just for fun, right? They have a fun, silly idea, and they're like, I'm going to make a game. And sometimes that game is just like a wee bit of fun. And sometimes that game is like fantastic, where you're like, damn, okay. Oh, you did the damn thing, right? You have stumbled into something that really fucking works, and it's great, right? But like, I really love game designers that have deeper levels of principles and guidelines and reasons why they make their games. So hearing that from you is really great, especially because of the way that you tend to kind of balance like your concepts and your mechanics as well with those principles and with kind of the spirit of the storytelling, the story that you're trying to tell or that you want to help people tell with your game system. So obviously I have, obviously to you, to other people, might not be obvious. I am in Wayward Autumnal, which is an AP that is using Graham's system Under the Autumn Strangely. If you are ever looking for a GM-less TTRPG, this is probably the best time I've ever had with a GM-less TTRPG. A lot of them tend to be really kind of meandering. They either give you like not enough rules, or there's like way too many rules where you're like, shouldn't I just have a GM? Why do I need 6 stacks of cards? And I need like something that's in the middle. And this is a game that's so easy to just sit down and set up and be like, okay, so you're going to do this, you're going to do this, you're going to do this. Here's a diagram in the middle of the book that tells you who can contradict who and who can't, and how we're going to start it, and we're going to put a song on and we're going to go. And it's literally that easy. Like you sit down and you're like, so anyway, right? And you're done. It's like 0 prep. And I don't think I've ever like played a game that is actually 0 prep. It says it's 0 prep. And then I'm there for like 40 minutes like.
Is this visible? The back of my business card?
Yes, prep is death. Thank you.
Prep is death. All right, friends and fiends, duckies and dice fiends, I believe we are back. I won't know for a couple. Oh, it looks, yes. Hello, everyone. OBS just said no, and I had to restart the whole gosh darn thing. So you should watch the VOD, because Candace said some really great things that were recorded, but not streamed.
Is that on your Patreon?
Wait.
Quick, plug.
Did you start re-recording in the Zoom?
Yeah, I didn't stop the recording in the Zoom.
Yeah.
Perfect. We're good.
They
Look at
got,
that.
they got
Thank
all
you
my,
for
my
checking.
raucous
I
comments.
need a keeper.
Yeah.
I need a keeper.
Sure.
You're doing great, sweetie.
But yes, thank you all for hanging out. And I'm going to be honest, I got completely derailed by tech issues, so I need one of y'all to save
Yeah,
me.
I was talking about Under the Autumn Strangely, actually.
Yes,
and
you
I am
were.
happy. I'm happy to continue. So if you are looking for a GM list that you can just kind of sit down and play with people, it is really fun. It is not like a pumpkin spice latte where you can only really enjoy it for like 3 months at a time, and then you're like, fuck this. You can kind of enjoy it any time of year, which is cool. And yeah, I had a really good time playing it, and I could not recommend it more, which is why I'm even more excited about this new game that you have going on. Because I feel like the level of understanding that you have for what you anticipate your audience getting out of your game is like spot on. There are a lot of people who don't really know what the end result is going to be. And I've seen a lot of that in TTRPGs where like the setting is really nice and the concept is great and the mechanics seem cool, but then you sit down and you actually play it and you're like, what are we doing exactly? What is the outcome here that we want, right? Like what are we working toward? But I feel like in your games, especially now having had you GM me twice, right? Getting to that point is something that you keep in the foreground of your mind, and you make sure that the people who are playing your games keep that in the foreground of their mind, because we're doing something together and telling a collaborative story. So yeah, very excited to play this new game.
And that is awesome. Candace knows I've been talking for years at this point. Years. I have it in my brain. I want to run a Labyrinth TTRPG.
There might be one.
There is. It's a 2d6. I don't like.
I remember.
I want to run
Yeah.
my own thing. I'm probably going to butcher 5e because 5e is the one I know best, right? But
Okay, so 5e compatible. You'll make $1 million minimum. Go on.
I have so many. Well, this is just an AP that I want to run, and I have so many people who want to play in it. But I'm like, here's the thing. I need people who will play Labyrinth like a horror game. Everyone wants to come in and be funny. And I'm like, no, Labyrinth is a horror movie up until the moment when it's funny.
It's both. You can do
Porque
both.
no los dos.
See. And also, each one makes the other one better.
Yes.
So as you're saying, comedy and horror are like this far from
peanut butter
each
and
other.
chocolate. I would say that they're here, actually. I would say that they use the exact same. It's the building and release of tension.
Yes.
Of a punchline, as well as just how walking down a dark hallway works. It's identical. That's why I think things like Evil Dead 2 or Labyrinth work so perfectly well, is because they're both functioning on the exact same wavelength.
Yes.
Yeah,
And-
that scene with the trash lady where like Sarah, everything's fine. And then the lady is like really funny because she's like, oh yeah, you need all these things, darling. You're missing all these things in your life. And she's like giving her all this stuff. And you're like, oh, ha, 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 this is so funny. And then it's revealed that she's like actually in this desolate wasteland full of garbage and doesn't know how she's going to get out. And I was like, right? Like it takes you from, she's home now. Oh, this lady's, oh God. I'm a really big fan of that arc, of that experience.
Yes. Well, and I had a realization because I play this home game, horror game, where this monster made out of hands has been pursuing us for 3 years, right? It's just messing with it. It's terrible. It takes dead people and literally puppets them. And then when you figure out they're being puppeted, like the skin splits open and just dozens of hands just come out. And everyone's like, ugh! And I'm like, it's not that bad, right? It's not that bad. And then I had the realization of it's just the helping hands in my brain from the Labyrinth. So it's not scary because it's just the helping hands. And as long as you don't say down,
They just want to help you.
it's fine.
They just want to help you out of your
Okay.
skin.
Yeah. That part. And then wear your skin like a jacket. No.
Just the hand part, but the fingers, they don't fit. So the fingers are like poking at all the weird angles, like trying to make a pillowcase work. And you're like, shit. But it's hands.
The energy there is like that scene from fucking Deadpool and Wolverine.
The opening.
Like where her fingers like go through dude's face and skull. And I'm like,
Yeah.
this is great. Like I love this, but also this is horrible.
Many hands make light work.
Terrible. Don't. Don't make us
Good
get
job,
the spray
Chad.
bottle.
You get yourself a free sub. I don't have that power, but
You would hate, Candace. You would hate this group chat because at one point I found a photo manipulated image of a hand, but instead of nails, it's teeth.
Great.
Yeah, it's excellent. And I'm
Great.
like, here you go, GM, and everyone's like, stop it, Kay.
We will get the spray bottle if we need to.
That's the square one. Okay, if that's where we're going, like we're all getting on the train. So you know.
Yeah.
If I'm in it, then I'm fine. Like as it's happening,
Yeah.
I'm okay. But then like Shudder had like some special where there was a monster made of teeth.
Uh-huh.
And they used that for all of their marketing, and I was not expecting that one day. And I opened it, and I had a meltdown. I had the worst. I was like, "This is offensive." I got really upset. Someone should put a warning label on this. All of a sudden, I was like 70 years old. Where are the content warnings?
Where are the content warnings on my teeth monsters? I'm back to
How
play
dare
Legend of
you.
Zelda.
Don't you show me this teeth monster without my consent. Yeah, I got really.
So safety tools being what they are, like you lines and veils are very, very good. But one of my many, many rants about safety tools is that they're tools, so they need to be used in conjunction with others. Like they don't exist in voids. And ultimately what it is permission, narrative permission to start that conversation at the table. Right? They're not patches. They're doors. They're doorways to say that the GM is not the only person who's capable of content and you have to be along for the ride. And so the issue I have with like lines and veils is that it's this elephant in the room that like, okay, particularly among strangers, because I tend to facilitate a lot at cons in addition to everything else and just meeting people. And so if you're going to have a silly or a fun or even lighthearted game, you're like, okay, we're going to list the worst things in the world, which is why I like the third column, which is like the green light, the yes, please. And Candace calling you out. You put graphic gore. You put graphic gore in that. And the O card.
I did.
The O card, my safety tool, which is also in the text of Under the Item Strangely, which I did late night at a con as a joke, because we kept throwing out the X cards. And I had one too many drinks, and I drew it in the card and was throwing out people. And I said, look what I made. The O card. And I was hitting it every time I liked something. And so eventually my friends started asking for it earnestly and saying, can you bring that back? And I'm like, yeah, that thing I was doing is a lark, and it works really well because again, it's that getting over the hump, the awkwardness or the uncertainty or the tension, especially in something like horror. If you're pontificating, if you're going on a spiral, and we're talking about teeth coming out of fingers, and you see people hitting the O card or holding up, an O on stream, you're like, great, right? And then you're giggling not only from like the joy, but also like being seen and like it's everything that what role-playing games are.
Well, I had that same awesome experience I was in a short game over on Sword and Key, and it was horror. And it kind of became, there were these moments where characters were having very intense kind of one-on-one conversations. And, it was trophy dark, right? So it was a lot of like, I'm suspicious, I'm probing, or I'm playing it cool, but I am probing. And I was playing my clueless. I was playing Burton, so very clueless as to what's going on, right? And just giving people setups to dunk on me. And I'm watching the players in the background just holding up the green card of like, yes, I'm loving this, keep going. Like they're just like, and it was so much freedom because I'm aware I'm a big personality, and I could take up a lot of space at a table, and I try to be very aware of like, when do I need to cut it short? When do other people need their chance? And just seeing people being like, no, keep going. This is great. It's fine that I'm not in this scene. This is totally, it's like, okay, cool. I don't have to be as conscious about this right now. Like, it's
Absolutely.
great.
And it also encourages the people on the other side of the spectrum, the folks that are like, is this okay? I don't know. The non-big personalities, because then it gets them to go further. I mean, role-playing is weird. It's exceptionally weird, even if you've been doing it for years and years and years, or if you're training improv or any of it, especially if you're trying to get to that like extra level of like ego death or like focus with your character, right? No matter how practiced you are. And so that first third of any session for me really is about getting people living that, and so that you can really go on the ride and explore for the rest of it. So yeah, it's such a useful tool.
Yeah. And sometimes, you've written a scene to allow one of your really good friends to overcome something awesome, and your friend gets really into the moment, and you look over at them and they're looking at you with these big, beautiful brown eyes full of tears. And you're like, oh no, I hurt friend. Oh no, I'm a bad GM. Oh no, friend is just into it. Okay.
Yeah, friends into it. Do the O card. They're crying to hit the O card. Again, enthusiastic consent. A great way to encourage without interrupting. Like, this is all about.
Yeah, that Zoom chat popped off that day. Lots of check-ins in the Zoom chat.
No.
Everything is all right. It's wonderful. I'm having a great time. Are you sure? Because you cry. I cry because it's good. All right.
It's like, it was that moment of like, oh no, I made the bad cry happen. I need Candace to be okay. This was supposed to be this is a good cry? Okay.
Well, I mean,
you
made Bo cry, and
Yes.
then I cried because Bo cried, right? Like, my character really got punched in the gut hard. The scenario, like the setup, is that we're in this house, and there are certain rooms that we need to go into. And when you find a certain room to try to get this artifact or whatever that's in the room that you're supposed to be retrieving, the room will show you things that you need to see about yourself. This like house like tells you about yourself a little bit. So each player had a different experience, right? Like my scene was very different than one of the other players' scene was different than our changeling scene, right? So it was different for each person and customized for each person because it's all about like what's inside of you, and that's what the house is kind of working on. But my character was this giant minotaur who was a builder. She was very passionate about making structures because she felt like that was something permanent that she could hold on to in her life, and she'd done a lot of destruction when she was younger and like didn't want to get into what that destruction was.
Some
but
kind
all
of
of her
metaphor or
buildings,
something.
all of her buildings would fail. They'd always crumble, especially
Like
the
a
religious
metaphor
ones.
or something.
No.
I didn't take that and run with it.
Oh my God, that scene was so brutal. It was beautiful. It was probably it's definitely in my top 5 favorite scenes I think I've ever done in an AP. Absolutely stunning. But yeah, my character had to confront some harsh truths that she had been running from, and there was like nowhere left to go, right? She was just like painted into a corner, and she was just like, I'm just gonna give up. And Kay was like, wait, what? I was like, yeah, I give up. I stopped fighting. Kay's like, as you stopped fighting. So then I'm like pouring tears, like, and Kay's like,
Oh no. Oh, especially because a lot of this was like a metaphor, pre-written, right? I had a lot of this. I had these scenes in mind, like these were the specific challenges, and some of them were like, I know how this is. Like, I know how this is going to work out. Or a lot of these, it's like, okay, here's the situation. What is the solution? I don't know. Like at one point, one character's thing was in all caps, what is he going to do? I don't fucking know. Let's find out. Like that was literally just like, I don't actually know the solution to this one, right?
yeah.
And so I'd been reading off some of these very carefully crafted scenes. And then I look over and I just see Candace with tears. And I'm like, oh no!
You ruined it by being
I
great.
broke them!
I really like that though. I love when I can get carried away in a story. I definitely got carried away in Wayward Autumnal. That shit got real. That shit got really real. Our final episode is coming out soon, and that shit got even more real.
I'm super excited. I'm super duper excited.
It was bad
because of the messing with the structure. I mean, in my actual play example in the beginning of the book, there's a point in which the players are questioning the rules, and I rupture space and time and appear in the script to be like, you can just ignore me, it's fine, like I don't really care. And they're like, thanks, Graham. And then I have a line like a parenthetical like time and space are rectified, something like that. And so anytime people ask my permission to do something, I'm like, that is the game. You're doing it. You're playing it. Like people don't talk about how role-playing games are folk games, how they're all being taught. Like we live in a place where there's APs. Or somebody else, you go to a store or a con or it's just your friend, you show up at your friend's game and you are making these unassumed creations that, oh, this is how things are done and they must be done, or that people have certain APs they put on pedestals and they say, oh, I will never be as good as this because they're judging it by some kind of barometer, which just is not the case. It's why I'm reticent to give like GM advice, because I feel like it's not just like running it well or in a certain way or a certain style. It's ignoring the broader picture of the concept of what play is and what people have done. Is D&D still D&D if you're in modern day and you're all tiefling bards and you have a business? Yeah. And do they call it D&D when they do that? Yeah. So that's why I write the games that are intentional, and the things that I have is because these are stuff I'm thinking about, and the stuff that I want to have in there. People are writing games and they don't know what they're doing. They're kind of, painting with a really wide brush. And for me, that's leaving so much on the table, intentionally or otherwise. And there is magic of the unintentional. It's not just like hurtful. It's that like fruitful void stuff. What occurs? People call Under the Odd and Strangely like rules light. And I'm like, okay, but like, what are you doing though? Is it the number of words, or like, what is the activity you're doing? Like, is it the same as like lasers and feelings? I mean, not really, because I'm messing with a kind of a different kind of thing.
I like that though, that ingenuity in trying to experiment and take this into a place that feels more like an art form, rather than just trying to kind of cobble together rules. And like, I know that people would probably roast me over hot coals for this, because there are some people who see D&D as the highest of art forms.
Do it.
But to me, D&D is a really good skeleton, right? D&D is a skeleton, it's a little frame, and then you build your house on top of the frame with your ingredients and your stuff and all the shit that you found, right? It's the hair that you found in your neighbor's yard, and you're the bird, and you take it up and you make a little nest out of it, right? D&D is not magic itself, right? Like, it's just a hanger. What you put on it is what makes it magic. But for some people, like, they will die on the hill that is like that D&D is a miracle, right? And I'm like, there's really nothing in it though. There's no soul or heart. There's no, like, you have to bring all of that. Even the RP, right? There's no RP mechanics in D&D. So even like that part of it, which is a lot of life really that comes to your stories, like a lot of that is nowhere to be found, right? There's no mechanic for that. So to me, I really like being able to talk to people who do this, and also play games that make it clear that they're doing this, where like the game is clearly led with passion, right? It's led with passion and purpose and a sense of excitement about something, right? I remember a few years ago, I saw the, what is it called? Now I'm not going to remember what it's called.
A Steven Universe movie.
God, it's so good. Not as good as the series. No, so it's a book. I can't remember what it's called, but it's a TTRPG. It is powered by the Apocalypse TTRPG. That is all about the work of Mike Patton's band. They sing Epic. Everyone loves them.
Imagine Dragons.
No. They're from the 80s and 90s. Who sings
Imagine
Epic,
Dragons.
Mike Patton.
That's a grammar joke for everybody out there. There you go, the grammar nerds in chat.
He is the lead singer of Faith No More. There's a Faith No More TTRPG.
It's PBTA?
Correct. Someone has made a PBTA.
Okay, chat,
No More
hit us with that pun title while Candace cooks.
Right. And I was like, this bears no relevance on my life. I don't. My best friend loves Faith No More and loves Mike Patton. I enjoy Mike Patton's indie music that he does with like Handsome Boy Modeling School and all that stuff, right? But I've never really gotten into them. And I was like, I'm not going to care about this at all. But when I started reading it, there was so much passion in this work. These people like really give a lot of fucks about this band. And it's clear when you read it how many fucks they give. So by the time I got halfway through the book, I was like, maybe I can play this game. I don't know. This is good. This is pretty solid. You're telling a story in the landscape of the music. You're not using the music to guide you, right? You're not characters in the songs, but you're taking the principles and the essence of what makes this music important to the writer, to the author of this book, and that's what you're playing, right? So it was such a high concept for something that seemed so face value. I was really shocked. I was like, man, I don't need to have this in my collection because it's not going to bring me as much joy as it'll bring her. So I sent it to her and she was over the moon. But seeing that level of passion and that level of conviction in someone's work elevates that to an art form.
So when is your AP coming out of the Faith No More RPG? And chat, please tell us what the pun title of the AP is as well. Faith lots more? Writer. I don't know. I'm just cooking.
Faith no D4s.
Faith no D4s?
Faith no D4s. That's cute. Lurking Writer says D&D is a skeleton and I've got a bone to pick.
It's less a skeleton and more like 3 skeletons. It's living in a jar, and even like it's even more than that. I love an extended metaphor. It's that thing when you're alone in the night and you're looking at your like your coat sitting on something and it looks like something, and then you're like, no, it's not, but it is that. It's just an identity crisis. Like, it's just that it's like 2 or 3 things that are all at once, and it's just unintentional design.
That's true.
It's got connections to 3.0. It's trying to not be 440, which was just World of Warcraft, and as a result, it's too many games.
The fantasy dragon part of it was hacked in to the game because it was originally just a war game, right? And it was like, well, we're going to make this weird fantasy hack into it, and then everyone's like, no, this is the intent. No, that was not the intentional.
And right? That's the thing, right? It's good as it is. I actually like playing D&D, right? Like D&D, there are certain stories that D&D is really excellent at telling, right? I have been at some D&D tables that have been transformative with what someone has made of it, right? But you've got to make something of it to get there, right? Like they're giving you a blank sheet of paper that has like a little like flow chart on it for rules, and you're like, thank you, I will take this, and then I'm going to color in all these boxes and give it personality and bring it to life. And there are some people who just don't. They're like, it has life. What do you mean? And I'm like, not all things are meant to be that way. Can you imagine if someone handed you a coloring book with all the pages filled out? That's just a book, right? Like, it's not the same thing.
You said previously some people say D&D is a miracle, and for me it's the people. People are a miracle, and
agreed.
That is why I write the games that I do, and it's why I'm like, oh, my game is actually Stone Soup, or it's buckets, and I label them, and then please fill them up. That's why I want people to have the kind of experiences, right? It's not this like pre-generated thing or laid out. Like, people have it. They have everything, and then once they get to step away. Wayward Autumnal is great because of the people that made it, because the people that put in their ideas and came up and then stood back and was like, we made this, right? It's not like, thank you, Graham, for designing this great game. It's the thing that you did as the group, which is what I want to begin with. People are a miracle. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, but also you're cool, so you still get a thank you whether you want it or not.
Whether
you want it or not,
I'll run more games.
You will take this thank you and you will like it.
Yeah.
That's what you were talking about, like being hesitant to give GM advice earlier. The best GM advice I can give is to know when to shut up and let your players work their magic.
Yeah, absolutely. Players are not empty vessels. This is not
as a
school.
GM, shut up, let them do their thing, and listen, and then because whatever they put out there, it's going to be worse and or better for them than what you had in mind. Promise you.
Also, don't have anything in mind. Also, like, you're ruining the game by having things in mind. Listen to your players. Like, it's the stereotype of like, I made my dungeon and I have a map and the players don't want to go in there. Oh, I'm gonna make a meme about it. Those bad players, because they want to hang out in town and like they're like, oh, there's a lemonade stand. Let's run this instead. You're like, don't you want to go into the dungeon? But this is the problem, that the game is the lemonade stand, and you're not listening to the players.
Yes.
You're not listening to what they want or what the game is. You're fighting against it. Yep. This is again this old school like chainmail first edition thing where like, I am a literal god and be grateful to me. Like, it's all just white supremacy. It's all insanity. Like, it's all it fucking is in all of these forms. And the less we do that, the more we're able to have intentional games and free and open space.
Yeah.
Lurking Rider says
Fucking
D&D has 3 skeletons in a trench coat that follows other TTRPGs down the alleyways, mugs them, rifles through their pockets for spare mechanics.
Sometimes, yeah. I mean, the stuff that came out with like D&D 1 or whatever they're gonna call it, and everyone's like, this is just Pathfinder 2nd Edition, you cheeky Hasbro. But I don't know what they're gonna do with that. They seem lost in the woods.
Yeah. They should play Under the Autumn Strangely. They'll find their way out, or they'll die.
Or they die, which is fine too. It's a story.
You'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out.
Jason says there's nothing wrong with most RPGs. D&D is great for fantasy combat. For storytelling game, try Fate or Brindlewood Bay, etc., etc.
Yeah, I like Fate.
We talk a lot about.
I like Brindlewood too, though. That's a great game. That's fun.
Yeah, we talk a lot about find the game that works for your story. Because look, if I'm doing a one shot, especially with people I don't know well, it's probably going to be in 5e because everyone knows D&D, right? It's very easy. I don't have to. I got asked to do a one shot for a game that had a 31-page quick start.
No.
Okay.
No.
And I'm sorry.
No.
A 31-page. It's going to take me as long to get through the quick start as it's going to be to play the game, to play the one shot.
No.
And that's before I've even built my character. So
Yeah.
that's not an ideal one-shot game.
No.
But also, as a person who I do love playing 5e. I love, because I could throw a game together. I know it well enough. Most people know it well enough. It's fine. Play other systems. Please,
Try
for the
it
love of all the
out.
gods, play some other systems. Play some other games. You'll be a better player for it. You'll be a better GM for it. And yeah, you won't be the person who's only played D&D that everyone's going to make memes about.
And it will change how you play D&D as well.
Yes.
The more I play other systems, because like everyone in the chat probably knows this already. Graham does not. I was not an OG D&D person. A lot of people start with D&D, right? That's like baby's first TTRPG. I played that weird Steven Universe homebrew that my friend did. I played like a weird like Wild West in space cowboy western thing that he also did, which was really cool. Both of those games, as most do, died because of scheduling. And then I found myself in the world of Savage Worlds.
Yeah, heck yeah.
And that was like my first TTRPG that I fell in love with, that I was like, we're doing this for the rest of our life. I don't think anyone's gonna be able to pry this out of our cold, dead fingers. We're getting buried with this. We're doing TTRPGs all the time. Can we do them every day? That's probably too much. Let's dial back. But I like jumped in feet first, right? And I think for me, as I've started to play more in D&D, because it's currency, right? At this point, there are a lot of people who are like, this is what I'm doing. Do you know how to play this? And I'm like, yes. Do I know how to DM? No. But I will play at your table. I will play.
Why not? Candace, why not?
It's too much mechanics. I don't know.
No, it's not.
I
Roll some
can
dice.
run D&D the way that I run D&D, which
Do
is
it.
going to
Great.
be
Done.
the lightest rules in the world.
Great.
All you have to do.
That's how
what's more
everyone
important.
does it.
The rules are a guideline and a jumping off point to tell the story you want to tell.
Yeah, I'm working on that. I'm working on my confidence
Do it more.
with that.
Do it more.
Especially because it wasn't until I got into the AP scene that I realized that there were several worlds, like that, the 3 skeletons you're talking about, right? The 3 games that D&D is and who it is for, right? For example. So like Transplaner, season 1, Second Stranger, they were playing D&D, right? That felt good. I was, they did Shoot Your One Shot. I was a guest on Transplaner for an episode. It was awesome. I played D&D. I made a Heron gun that was fan-fucking-tastic. Big fan of Aki Blackbun. And I had a really great time, right? I continued to play TTRPGs, all kinds, right? But I play D&D mostly like with Kay, or I'll play it, with different, DMs in the space that I really like. And all of them are queer, right? Pretty much every D&D DM I've had has been some sort of queer, if not also marginalized in some other way, whether they are disabled, whether they are BIPOC, right? I've never really just played D&D with just a straight, white, cis man. And it wasn't for a long time that I realized that that's a very different D&D. I didn't realize that we were talking about 2 different things here. And meeting grognards for the first time was wild.
Yeah.
That was crazy. Because I'm like, what do you mean you're upset that D&D is gay? Can't you see how lovely it is? It's a rainbow. D&D is wonderful. You can prance around with your homosexual friends and slap ass and have a good time. It's lovely. And people are like, it's a serious game about murdering things. And I'm like, what have I been playing? What did I do? I don't.
There was
I
a
don't
joke like in social media's past, long dead, reclaimed, about what gay D&D was, and the definition of gay D&D. Gay D&D is when you're having fun. Are you having fun?
Yes.
Are you having fun playing D&D? Then it's gay
That's
D&D.
true.
That's so queer. Yeah.
Are you having fun? Then dude, bro, you're playing gay D&D then.
Keep
Oh.
it up.
It was a good running gag.
Oh, you're queer and you're playing D&D? What color is your tiefling?
Oh yeah.
Which one?
Yay.
Yeah. I've made a surprisingly small number of tieflings.
What is
but
your
I've
favorite
made-
then? What do you tend to go to?
I haven't.
I have my
Uh,
defaults as well.
So like Savage Worlds is mostly people. It's mostly humans.
Right.
So I've just made a lot of humans.
Sure.
I play a lot of games where you're just a regular ass dude, who might have some cool powers maybe. I don't do a ton of that, but I have. I like the gotta catch 'em all approach to D&D.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Minotaurs are probably.
Oh
my
yeah, I love a Minotaur.
Yeah.
I'm a Minotaur.
Yeah.
One of my
person. I've
favorite
got, like,
characters early on. I played in
Yeah.
middle school. It was this like older high school kids running it. It was this like war epic, and I was like a minotaur behind enemy lines, and I still think about that character sometimes. Basically, anything that's like weird, the weirdest thing I can be. I love half orcs, as long as we're dealing with them as people. They're essentially just different kinds of human, not magically another species if you're mixed, like a mixed person. Pathfinder 2, goblins are a core race now. They're not like inherently evil. That's my stuff. I love a half orc. I love a goblin. Those are the things that I like to play.
I think that's next for me, is a goblin.
Love a goblin.
I started with Pathfinder 1E. Friends don't let friends build characters in Pathfinder 1E.
Oh, come on. No, not even.
I showed up. It was my first ever time doing a TTRPG.
You just needed support. You just needed a good table.
I showed up to a friend's house. We had one copy of Player's Handbook being passed around. We had paper sheets.
Yeah.
We had 4 hours into character creation. And we were also trying to start at level 5. Like, we were building level 5 characters. And no one warned me, so I was building a druid. So,
sure.
4 hours in, I still didn't know what a cantrip was. And at that point, I was too overwhelmed to ask. And then we broke that game in 4 sessions.
Yeah. Good job.
I'm sorry, Fig. I'm so sorry. But like, and I already had the character that I was going to play in mind. I knew what I was going to play. But I'm just like flipping through the book, right, when someone else wasn't using it. And I had never heard of tieflings, but I'm flipping through it and there's a tiefling. And I'm like, wait a minute. You can play Nightcrawler, but with horns? Why would you ever play anything else? And then I learned what a trope tieflings were for the queer community. And I'm like, gosh, dang it.
Nah,
I seem to have fallen into this very obvious trap. Dang.
Yeah. There are traps in Love for the Love Gods that I refer to as my queer traps.
Please, pile them on.
All right, so I'll tell one. I'll say that one.
Please.
It amuses me so. So the first thing you do in setup in Love for the Love Gods is you create the cutest town. That is the set that you're on. And have a list of things for people to come up with. And like most of my mechanics, one person says, this is the one I want, and they say what it is. There isn't a kind of council for deciding, we do want that or not. This is the one I want, and I'm doing it. And so it's things like, what's a legacy of the town, and what's a dish that everyone makes and loves, and things like that. What's an annual festival? And then the one that I do, which like I giggle, I remember vividly writing it down. I'm like, this is gonna be great. What is a adorable local cryptid? And every fucking time I've run the game, it is by far the one. And the person, I'm like, they raise their hand. I'm like, I'm pretty sure I know which one you're gonna pick. And it's great every time, right? Like,
I can hear Emily, salty queer, screaming right now. I know the cryptid.
An adorable local cryptid.
Is it the Mothman?
Which
is that who people pick?
No, you make up one.
Oh,
you make up an adorable local cryptid, and they're always bangers every single fucking time. They have a goofy name, they're described well, and then again the joy. It's the stone soup, it's the buckets thing. Throughout play, people are describing the scene, and there's a stickle of Jammy. Jammy's that red-headed like three-legged thing that will play tricks on you around. What was the last one? The last town was like a weird obsession with Jurassic Park. And so all of the local holidays were all of when Jurassic Park movies had been released, and there was always like a big festival for it. So like, letting people run wild and they connect the dots. I don't say, and be sure to connect the dots in your narration. People are human narrative machines. So that's the thing that you're kind of keyed into, is that people will do it. I don't need to tell people to do that part. I tell them to say, tell me a cryptid, make it up, and then people know what to do with it. They know how to go running and like incorporate that into the world that everyone's collaboratively creating.
That was one of the really great comments by Abria when she was being interviewed about how she GMs, how she runs games. And she's like, people, especially like good players, right? It's not natural for everyone, but if you play it, if it's not natural, if you play it enough, you start getting there, right? She's like, people, it's like the swelling of a chorus. People know when it's time to step into the spotlight. People know when it's time to pull these things. Like it is something that if not natural, you will naturally start to do after you've done it a certain amount of times, after you've been at these tables long enough. And I'm like, again, that goes hand in hand with my, like, as a GM, learn when to shut up. Like, don't force the character into the spotlight. Put the spotlight there. Someone's going to step into it. And it's great. Let them connect the dots. Let them start doing this. It is so much fun when that happens.
Yeah, that's the alchemy. That's the thing that happens. That has happened to all of us here, and I'm sure everyone in chat. That thing where it's like, what am I doing to, wait, we're doing this to, what was that? And not knowing that answer and continuing to look for it because knowing you found something indescribable and truly special.
Okay, let's see. I'm going to read off. I've ignored chat because we were having a great conversation and didn't want to derail. Lurking Rider says, Lasers and Feelings was the first game I got to run once and actually complete a story in a single session with none of us having played it or run it before that session.
Fantastic.
So much fun. Jason says he only runs non-D&D games in one-shots, but that's why he's doing it to show other people. But also it's games at a table and not streaming. And yes, there's a difference between friends at a table, trying something new, and like trying to put on a polished AP. Because even if you're learning in an AP, there's still a certain amount of performance that you've. I mean, I hate to say you need to give because you technically don't need to, but
again,
still,
it's this
we
assumption.
all know. We know the pressure.
It's this thing that occurs.
Yes.
You're aware of the audience. It's the fourth wall that occurs. And so, yeah, this is something I've talked about before. And I think a whole other pod or discussion or whatever would be worth it in terms of, like, what is the fourth wall when it comes to AP and what is the difference? And again, something I think is really unexamined considering how common that these games continue to be and the way that they're consumed.
Yeah. And Candace knows I love storytelling and I love, okay, it's time to get in and do this big spotlight moment. And then if no one else picks up the ball, if no one else hops in the spotlight with you, and that's the fear of like, I'm trying something new, I'm going to take the big swing. What do you mean the rules don't work that way?
Yeah, I think everybody's got those stories.
Fit.
I think everybody's got stories like that. And I think it's about who is the gatekeeper, who's held it there. When I was running Pathfinder 1 for people all those years ago, the people I was getting to play in my games had come from the Pathfinder Society and other stuff, and came in with stories like they were trying to push an ogre into an oven or something, and the DM was like trying to make them do like grapple and bull rush and like all these things, and they kept failing, and he didn't have the vocabulary. My friend didn't have the vocabulary to be like, this sucks, but I'm like, yes, it does, and it's not just rule of cool. Like that's just one piece. That's just one part of it. Because it's not just do whatever you want either. It's the idea of how are we creating, what is the spotlight, and have it. And like, there are so many unexamined parts that I think are worthy to step forward and like really, really make it well. And as people keep discovering it, like that's a huge joy to me.
Absolutely. We are not out of time yet, but we are nearing the end. We want to talk about some of the games that Not Mythic Quest.
Mythworks.
Mythworks. My brain is like, Mythic Quest is the word you're looking for. And I'm like, no, it is not. I very much know that is a show.
Yeah, you do. You know it.
My mind always goes to Mythopoeia for some reason.
Well,
Mythopia?
I think most people in chat know, but I work in video games, so Mythic Quest is a personal attack. It is the Silicon Valley for people who work in video games because it is far too accurate and it gives me panic attacks watching it because I'm like, nope. Mm-mm.
I didn't realize it was accurate. I just thought it was,
It is horrifyingly accurate.
Okay, right on.
Like coming up in .com, Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
Like everyone I knew who worked in Silicon Valley and who worked in .coms was like, I can't watch that without like, it's like either high anxiety or immersion therapy. And then Mythic Quest came out, and I'm like, oh no, it's doing it again. TTP is a real thing. TTP is a real thing we discuss.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, that happened for me. I started Mad Men before I entered advertising.
Before you entered into the 1960s?
Correct.
Great.
I was like, this is really good. Look at this. The camera lingers on the women and the POC, so we're getting this understanding of these people. They're not shying away from showing these white men how they used to be, and we're not pretending that they were really nice. So I'm there. I'm like, good. A show that tries to be honest. That's good. And then I started my job, and I was like, I'm gonna be a little Peggy Olson. This is so great. Little Peggy Olson, that's me. Woo, having a good time. And then, like, I want to say 4 months in, I was like, right. Yeah, Peggy Olson. No respect, does all of the work. Dudes steal my ideas constantly. Yeah.
It's okay. It's the 60s.
There's no reprieve.
It's a long time ago. Everything's better
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
This is good. Man, what would make Peggy Olson's life a little bit harder? If she was queer and black, that'd probably be a real bummer of a time. I was like, Candace, check in with ourselves. This is bad. We need this job, so we're gonna keep doing it. But maybe we don't stay in here because this isn't it. And then I kept watching the show, and Peggy Olson's like, I'm gonna get real bitter and start a chain smoking habit.
Yeah.
I'm like, exactly, girl, exactly.
Same. Like fist bumping to the TV. Yeah. Well, Mythworks is a comic book and a role-playing game company. It's pretty much started by two guys, and only recently.
Wait, guys start comic books and TTRPG companies?
I know.
I've never heard of this personally.
Because of the quality of the books, it seems like it's a much larger company, because you have things like Free League and Modiphius that have these like wild budgets. The game that probably is most known is the Wild Sea. The Wild Sea is a game where in the post-apocalypse, trees have overgrown the entire planet, so only like tippy tops of mountains are left, and you are in chainsaw ships sailing across this ocean of trees as wild sailors, so you could be like fungus people or cactus folk or like spider hive minds. And so for me, the joy of Wild Sea is it's offering this thing that everybody always has access to. They know what a nautical adventure is. You want to have a ship, you want to have a crew, you want to go on adventures. But it's giving what you want in a way you don't expect. It's new weird. It's eldritch wonder. It's not gritty in the same way that so many of these post-apocalyptic things are, but it is like fraught, you know? There's like the strangeness of the world, these leviathans below the trees, and everything's so aggressively strange that it's not so weird that you don't know what the access point to. Oh, we have a ship and a crew, but now you get to be excited because you're a moth person. And so the options are just there. The other game, which has become kind of like making the rounds, is Slug Blaster Kickflip Over the Quantum Centipede, where you play as teens on hoverboards and you're hopping through dimensions, trying to be real cool and like avoid, you know, parent. What's the phrase? The parent groups. They're like, no, don't do that. Don't download your hoverboard. And it is very madcap and beautiful. And what is really, really well done about Slug Blaster is that, back to the three skeletons, what are the purpose of your game? What are you trying to do? And the ways that people intentionally, or just the way that we are narrative making machines, you want to make story, you want to make character, even though there isn't support. Well, in Slug Blaster, there is. The experience points that you get is literally making arcs. It's like creating your moments and your things. You get your cool tricks, and you get slammed, and you go on grinding on Tyrannosaurus Rex skeletons. And then those points that you use are for establishing these moments where maybe you break with your crew, or you think you're too cool for school, or you come back together, you fight a rivalry. And so it is an understanding of narrative and arc in a way that like 99% of games don't even approach. It's the loop. What are we doing here? What is the loop? An hour ago, we talked about it. What is the gameplay loop? And games that don't know how to do that, Slug Blaster knows how to do it more than like most other games. And it's an absolute delight. It's my favorite kind of art, which is like a very smart thing pretending to be stupid. You're like, oh, this is ridiculous, but like you even begin to think about it a little bit. You're like, wait a minute, there's a lot of stuff going on here.
Love that.
And so the game right now for Scene Quest is Time Force, which is like time traveling mad cappery, rules light, You have your different modes. How do you get your characters? It's very, very slapstick. It's got a wonderful art style that reminds me of like Galaxy Trucker. You have like big funny heads and little guys. I think it really, really sells the tone well. And so a Slug Blaster comes in this like Technicolor like pizza box. And
so killer.
Wild Sea, the book, the company makes art books for museums. And so the idea is trying to do something different, trying to do something better in a way that like you're just kind of doing the bare minimum in a lot of these games. And we're in it because we love it, because we're passionate. You want to play games, you want to find it. But like, what if you really, 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 really tried really hard? And so Time Force is in this like zine quest, you know, it's very much like out of the back of your car buying punk CDs at a show that I love about how scrappy it can be, but also like the $10 or $5 that you give to somebody as one of their zines in Zine Quest or Zine Month is just in a utilitarian way worth so much to somebody because they haven't made a game before and they have this thing. And I don't care if it's stapled together, if it's just like Xerox and stapled, like I'll give you your $5, your $10, because that value to me, to you, is not the same at all. Like the fact that I've given you money for your art is fantastic, fabulous. You know, it's the thing. It's the thing what this is all about.
I feel like that's a really good
Thank you so much
match.
for the raid.
I feel like that's a good match for you
Mm-hmm.
as a creator. And like it's really cool to hear that you are like working with them and that your own work is going to be released through them. Like the level of wonder I think that I had going into Under the Autumn Strangely after kind of wrapping my head around the rules and kind of playing that initial like little 1 hour dealie that we did before we started the series. I feel like that company really does try to kind of harness that sense of wonder across their product line in a way that other, I think, TTRPG publishers don't necessarily pay as much attention to. Other people, I feel like, go based on vibes, right? This will fit our vibe. We already make books like X. This book is Y, which is similar to X, but not exactly, and so we'll sell that too, right? Like, that's kind of how people tend to decide what they want to get into. But I feel like, and I'm very biased, I was an Ennies judge the year that Wild Sea and Slug Blaster were both nominated. So I got those books sent to my home. And I opened them, and when I tell you the losing of my mind that went down, if any of you guys are interested in any of these books, definitely look up this publisher's work. It's so good. Obviously, Graham's work is also layered underneath that umbrella now, so definitely check that out as well. If you are a person who likes having a beautiful collection of TTRPGs, Slug Blaster, I didn't get the cool version. I got just the book itself, which the book itself alone is still fucking rad.
I can make something happen. Who knows?
I want the pizza box.
I know you do.
The book itself, phenomenal on its
it's
own.
wild.
Like, awesome on its own. It's
Mikey's
so
a
good.
genius. He's so amazing.
Like, damn, you start paging through it. It's one of those books you can't stop leafing through, right?
Yeah.
Once you've opened one page, you're getting to the end of it.
Mikey Ham, shout out to Mikey Ham. Like I got to hang out with him last Gen Con because he's Canadian. He flew down for everything. And I mean, it's wild what a piece of absolute passion that game is. And flip all the way to the back, and there's this secret little paragraph all the way in the back about like your place in the cosmos that I'm like, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Something that looks stupid, that looks like, you know, acid puke all over like a cement wall, but actually it's the most heartfelt thing I've ever read.
Yeah, it's absolutely stunning. Also stunning is Wild Sea. If you are interested, again, we talked a little bit about TTRPG innovation with mechanics earlier. This is TTRPG innovation that I want to talk about with Wild Sea in the printing process, right? It's clear that this is printed by a company that makes art books. I have never seen, I've never seen in my life this concept before. And when I tell y'all that it knocked my socks so far off, basically when you purchase the hardcover copy of Wild Sea, there is a folio wrapped around it, right? One of those folios where you have the little string and you have to wrap it around the little circular dealie to fasten it, right? That is how it comes. And when you unwrap the little fastener, the outside of it comes off and the inside has just more gorgeous art on it, right? The outside already had beautiful art, and then the inside is just more art that's even more gorgeous, and you're like, oh, okay. And then the side is like a linen finish, right?
Yes.
So if you're a design nerd, like, it's fucking sexy. You're touching it, you're like, this feels illegal, right? And then you look at the little folio that's in your hand, and it's your fucking GM screen, man. It's so cool.
Yeah, the GM screen is a dust cover, so it's
shit.
Just in terms of like, here, look at this thing, because I don't like being a salesperson, but I do like nerding out with people. Like it's all like the thing. Like I'm not looking to convince you of anything. This is not transactional. It's like I like a thing, and if I believe what I'm saying, then I'm not actually selling anything. And so it is fun to pull up the book and be like, look at this, ready? Ba-ba-bam! And the GM screen clicks onto it, and like it's a dust cover. Like it's just a fun little thing to do.
It's tasty.
And I have to just say, the term Eldritch Wonder.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Is so much, like, it's been just in the back of my brain. Just like,
it's really a lot of identities and the intersection of such that really means this thing. Like it's bright, but there is danger. Like you want that danger, and you want to be overtaken by mystery. But like if you kind of know what it is already, like how mysterious can it be? So what if you crank that all the way up? Then of course you have no fucking clue. It's totally weird. It's totally surreal. And so like anything is absolutely doable, and then at the table you decide what those is. The game is aggressively non-canonical. Rick Heisey, who is the chief people person and basically the third member, basically started doing in playtest this thing called unsetting questions. And unsetting questions are things that may or may not be true. And it was sort of this like warm-up exercise, but for me has become a core identity of the game, which is we don't understand what these stories, they may or may not be true in the way that stories are, and players are able to freely create that, and then you then start the game from that. It really does feel like listening to these tales that are lifting off. Maybe they're tall tales, maybe not, but you're already beginning to understand a unique version of yours, which is at the table. It's not this meta plot. It's not this other things. Like that is for me this important backbone that goes throughout the whole thing. So check out Time Force. It's on Backer Kit. Oh, Kickstarter? Oh, I don't know.
It's on one of those.
It's live. Go
it is on
check
Kickstarter.
it out.
I dropped the link before.
Yes.
I'm gonna drop it again.
Time Force. Check out Time Force.
Yeah, but also check out Graham's new game, because if you want to talk about fucking fly art, like I'm so addicted to looking at it. That design is so good. I know the interior design of the actual mechanics are going to be good because like I've played your stuff, but like the art also leveling up in my eyeballs. Very good. Very, very good in my eyeballs.
Yeah,
so
and that was an interesting sidebar because as I was trying to think about what the identity was going to be, I'm looking at romance covers and I'm looking at Hallmark movies and I'm like, this doesn't have an identity and that is identity.
No,
is that
it's
enough?
bland.
And I'm like, no, fuck it. And so trying to create it alone, it wasn't doing it for me. Like if I created a cover that was ironically ugly or like bad layout, like it wouldn't actually play. It would just be bad. And so I had to form a new identity for what it was. And so these suspiciously pink, yellow, and blue colors is what I ended up with.
Yeah, beautiful.
What a strange color combination.
Well, I don't know. I don't do things intentionally. I just.
All right, we are nearing the end of our time together. Graham, I cannot thank you enough for coming and hanging out. And we didn't get to talk Digimon, but that just means we're going to have you back. So we can.
Flying fishes!
Marching.
It was bait. You got me. You always have the person who throws something up so that somebody can be like the expert in the room, right? That's going to be you.
Does David like Digimon?
No.
Okay. All right. Good. Then I'm not disappointing anyone then.
Ty, your caress has given me even greater strength. I can digivolve.
Yeah, like Digimon, Pokemon, David just missed all of that. I only fell into, quick fun Digimon aside story. I fell into Digimon because I had my wisdom teeth removed. And they weren't just pulled, they were extracted. They also had the
pulling is they go in there and they like
Yeah, so
Get it
basically
out.
mine had not broken the gums, and they were
Right.
Yeah,
coming
they
at an
gotta
angle
slice-
where they were going to impact my other teeth, so they had to
Right.
like cut open the gums and then pull them out on top.
Same.
Sorry,
It's
y'all.
rough.
Content warning. And they decided that I apparently have have tall person energy. I am very small. I was also, not fully grown yet, so I was very, very small. And they were like, small person, we're just gonna slap some laughing gas, and that'll be good enough.
No.
It was not good enough.
No.
I could feel it all,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
started screaming. So they just shot me full of really strong knockout stuff, which was great. Woke up at home basically with a mouthful of cotton, drooling on myself despite a mouthful of cotton. And it was, a school day. My parents just put on, they knew I liked anime, so they're just like flipping through the TV and they put on Digimon. Like it was just there. They didn't know what it was. They left the room. And I'm just laying there drugged out of
Tripping
my
balls,
mind.
being like-
Yes.
And that's what's funny, because what I like about Digimon over Pokemon, like, of course they're all like, it's Beatles and Rolling Stones. Why do you have to pick? But like, it's so fucking weird. Digimon is so weird. Pokemon's like, we're gonna go on this adventure, but
Yeah.
like, it's so weird.
It wasn't even that got me. You know what got me? In my first time
Come
on
on.
actual drugs, I'm laying there going, they were little monsters. And then stuff spun around and they're big monsters.
I mean, you're there. That's it.
It was the
I get
coolest,
it.
mind blowing. Kay is not 7 feet tall. Kay wishes they were 7 feet tall.
That happened to me when I watched Max Steel.
Cat.
It was very different.
Cat.
It was very scary.
Cat. There's a cat.
Oh, there is a cat. That's Officer Gilmore.
Yes.
Do all your shows end so excitingly with drug-fueled Digimon stories and then a cat? I mean, that's a grand
Sometimes.
slam. That's
Usually
a
the
finale.
cat's here sooner. Are you going to shoulder cat?
Oh
you
my
want to shoulder
God.
cat? He might think about it.
I can
Shoulder
see
cat
why
is
you
great.
show up, chat. I can see why you show up to this show.
We have a cat command. If you type bang cat, there's a counter and his picture shows up. And yeah, come on. Everyone wants to see you shoulder cat.
I have 2 cats, but they don't care.
He's like, I don't want to shoulder cat. You want me to perform? I'm not going to do it.
He's gonna jump on you when you least expect it.
Yes, it's going to be terrifying. But as we are wrapping up, remind us again. Thank you for doing the command, Lurking Writer. Remind us, Graham, who the heck is you? And what the heck do you do that got you here?
My name is Graham Gentz. I use he and they pronouns. I am a game designer, facilitator, and occasionally a puppet. I am the brand spanking new play and culture lead at Mythworks that has Time Force out right now. If you've seen one of my games, like on the Wayward Autumnal AP, that is Under the Autumn Strangely, which is at IPR, as well as my itch, which is grahamgentz.itch.io. My upcoming game is Cabin in the Woods, but for Hallmark Movies. It's called Love for the Love Gods. It's all about queer romance that isn't tragic, as well as something just beyond the veil that we may find together. You can find me on Bluesky at This May Be Graham.
Thank you so much for hanging out with us. I told you we'd get shoulder cat. Appreciate great chats. Love all the stuff you're working on. Candace, who the heck is you? What the heck is you doing here? And where can we find you?
Oh, I'm Candace, also known as Candace Magnificent. You can find me at the Candace Marie on Bluesky and This Much on Twitter. And you can find me at Candace Magnificent everywhere else. Where everywhere else is depends on the week. I keep saying I'm going to stream. I don't know. I'm going to keep saying that until the dream is dead. Please play Banshee, a new video game that I am working on with CLB Games that comes out on March 17th on St. Paddy's Day. It is a story of Irish resistance, resilience, and the story of Irish oppression. It is also about queer love, queer joy, and trans joy, and trying to show the fuck up for people, which we really need in 2025. If you want to see more of my work on screen, you can catch me over at Other Cider Studios tomorrow. It's pre-recorded, but I will probably be in the chat, depending on how long my appointment lasts tomorrow evening. But there is a show there called The Melancholy We Weave, which uses the Quietist system. My chapter is 2 episodes long. It is awesome and sad and gay and scary as fuck, honestly. So definitely don't miss that. Shout out to Ambrose for being a fantastic horror GM. You can also hear more of me in City of the Black Rose, Herald of Shadows, doing lots of horror right now, guys. Um, that is Three Black Halflings' latest AP. It is very dark and scary and awful. People die horrific deaths. I don't want to give more spoilers than that, but I promise you will have a nice time. You can also hear me doing interviews sometimes on Three Black Halflings. I fill in as a guest host. And you can hear me again, it's too much horror. Partial Veil. Partial
No
Veil
such thing
is
as too much horror.
it is a cosmic horror meets Fargo podcast. That's an audio drama that I'm in, and it was up for a Cusco Award. And then there's an all-disabled cast of Bluebeard's Bride called A Haunting Beloved, which is a one-shot on Numinous Productions. And that was an absolute joy to make. So if you like artsy, fartsy, nonsense TTRPG stuff, where people wax poetic about all manner of things, please check that out.
Amazing. Thank you. I'm Kay. I've been here doing this. You can find me here doing this just about every Tuesday. This coming Thursday over at Meadowlark Productions, I'm going to be going to a galaxy far, far away where I am playing Bella Largo in a Star Wars 5e 9-episode campaign. So I hope you can join us for that first episode. And then, like I said, every Tuesday here, and then every other Friday, so not this one, but the next one, I am over on Entropy Emporium playing Brandon, the T-Fork Drake Warden Ranger Himbo. It's fine. We're in a terrible school. It's the worst thing ever. It's really a genuinely horrible place, and my poor little nature caster is in a place where he won't get to see the sun until we get out of here and people aren't allowed to leave without dying. So it's all fine. It's B. Zelda's character's favorite place, which is so funny. So, as always, thank you all for hanging out. Graham, thank you again. There was a Gilmore, but he left before I got to introduce him. But Gilmore was also here. Thank you, Gilmore, for showing your fuzzy face. Thank you all for hanging out. Please go check out Love for the Love God. Go check out Time Force, Trip Through Time. Both of those are in the chat. They will be in the video description when this goes up on YouTube. Thank you for hanging out with us despite our technical difficulties. Be kind to yourself, be excellent to others, and we will see you next time. Bye, y'all.